From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
And good day to you. I'm Marilee Joyce, and this is Eye on Washington, the only statewide Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. Every week, Eye on Washington takes you straight to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you. Today's topic, it's truly unsafe at any speed. We'll tell you about the growing problem of distracted driving in Nevada and nationally, and what's being done in Washington and in the state to help make our roads safer. My special guest today is Jonathan Adkins, the Deputy Director of the Governor's Highway Safety Association. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
The GHSA is a Washington, D.C. based organization that works with states to improve traffic safety. Well, the statistics are alarming. Today, nearly 20% of injury crashes reportedly involve distracted driving. And in a time when we're glued to our smartphones, the huge majority of those accidents occur while the driver is talking or texting. And today on Eye on Washington, we'll tell you about Nevada's new distracted driving law. We'll find out what's happening on the Hill and in the state to curb the problem. And we'll help you find out if you or a loved one fits the distracted driver profile. According to the Nevada Department of Transportation, there are 3,400 distraction-related crashes in Nevada every year. About 10% end in death. More often than not these days, these types of advocates involve a driver using a cell phone while behind the wheel, either texting or talking. Now in Nevada, such activity is not only foolhardy, it's now illegal. Beginning this year, motorists caught talking, typing, or reading on a handheld cell phone or similar device face fines of up to $250. But is a bill for $250, is it reducing the problem? Maybe not. The Las Vegas Sun reported last spring that despite the law, motorists continue to dial and drive, that Metro Police cited 2,300 drivers using cell phones in just a 3-month period this year. And the Reno Gazette-Journal says that in just 12 days in August of this year, Washoe County Sheriff's Office staff issued 418 citations to folks driving while distracted. Well, my guest organization is working to get Nevada and all drivers to follow the law by helping them to truly understand the danger of driving while distracted. Mr. Adkins, first of all, I want to welcome you to Eye on Washington.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to talk about some of the many efforts by your group and by Congress to get drivers to comply with the law. But first, I want to look at the severity of the problem. The Department of Transportation states that 5,500 reported deaths involving distracted driving likely is low because the police reports can't always document what was going on to distract them and whether distraction was actually a factor. So the numbers might actually be higher.
It may be higher, and partly what happens is that when you're distracted, you tend to do other risky things. You may be speeding, you may be following too closely, and so when the officer goes to investigate the crash, he or she may not see the cell phone. So, and in fact, it probably is a low number.
I want to start with this. What is distracted driving?
Distracted driving is really anything that takes your mind and your focus away from driving and focusing on the task of driving. It's not a new problem. It's something that has been going on as long as there have been cars.
Anything that takes your mind off what you should be doing.
Eating, fiddling with the gadgets in the car, and obviously these newer high-tech distractions.
I found it interesting that the Department of Transportation reports on their site that even though we all acknowledge it's dangerous, folks keep doing it. And it said on the site, it says mostly because they believe the statistics don't apply to them, that somehow they can do it and not get in an accident.
It's always somebody else, but that's true with any highway safety issue. That's why we speed. Well, I'm not going to get in a crash, it's the other person.
Well, what is the GHSA finding about that?
Well, we're finding that it's a serious problem. Driver distraction is one of the big highway safety issues, and that's why I think we're seeing states, including yours, start to address it through laws and education and enforcement. There's no magic solution, and it's something we're going to have to work on for a while. It's an uphill battle, as you indicate, because everybody's doing it.
Well, help our audience to understand why can't the DOT ban distracted driving, making it a federal law? Does this fall under the jurisdiction of individual states?
It falls, yes. It's a state issue, much like drunk driving and speed limits. That's the role of the states. The federal government can and has encouraged states to do strong laws and pass strong laws and set up different encouragements and even now a federal incentive. that states can qualify for if they have strong laws.
Well, I know Nevada became the 34th state to ban texting and talking. So it did take a while to come on board, but on board is better than not on board. Is that correct?
It took a couple years, but that's actually pretty remarkable because in the last 5 years, all the states have stood. This is a new issue, and so Nevada and other states have made progress pretty quickly.
What does GHSA do to help? In states where it's not banning texting and talking, what remains?
Well, we encouraged Congress in the recent highway bill to include an incentive, which they did. It's a small incentive, but it encourages states to have a ban on texting, which is an important start. And we are also sharing a lot of best practices along with the federal government. There's some really innovative enforcement mechanisms.
Like what?
Having cops out like they are with seatbelts, where you're actually out looking for people texting. But the kicker to that is you're not just enforcing the law, you're letting people know, hey, for the next 10 days, we're going to be out there, we're going to be looking for it. It's something called high visibility enforcement. So you get people like yourself in the media to cover it, you buy some advertising. It's that click it or ticket high visibility model where people know, I'm going to get a ticket if I do this, so I'm going to put the phone away.
What about congressional action? I know Congress has considered some laws to prevent distracted driving, but nothing's passed. How is GHSA involved in providing information to Congress that you hope might affect the problem?
We encourage Congress frequently to work with the states. This is the carrot versus the stick. States don't like to be told what to do. This is a state issue, and so we'd like to see Congress provide incentives to states, and they have done that.
Great. Okay, and when we return, are you a distracted driver? Well, let's take a quiz and find out. That's right after this.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, brought to you by the National Mining Association, Caesars Entertainment, NV Energy, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Western Lithium Corporation, the Nevada Mining Association, the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, and Skyline Restaurant and Casino.
America's minerals have made us a nation of self-reliant dreamers, shaping our world and the endless ways we enjoy it. But red tape often forces us to import more than half the minerals we depend on. Minerals we already have. We don't import our dreams. Shouldn't that go for our minerals too? The National Mining Association. Learn more at nma.org.
You already watch Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column, putting a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. Check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of Nevada's growing problem of distracted driving and what's being done on the Hill and in the state to make our roads safer. My special guest today is Jonathan Adkins, the Deputy Director of the Governor's Highway Safety Association. A 2010 study by the AAA says 62% of drivers believe that talking on a cell phone is a very serious threat to safety. That's the positive news. The not so positive news is that they apparently neither behave accordingly nor believe that others share their views. In fact, nearly 70% of those surveyed admitted talking on their phones, and 24% said they read or sent text messages or emails while driving in the previous month. Are you one of them? Let's find out. While operating a vehicle, do you text, use a handheld cell phone or smartphone, eat or drink, groom, read, including reading a map, use a navigation system, watch a video, adjust your radio, CD player, MP3 player? Let's cut to the chase. Are you doing anything other than holding the steering wheel with both hands and driving? And Mr. Adkins, folks eating, fixing their makeup, messing with the radio, those for years have been cited as distraction. But the problem that's really exploded in recent years, thanks to technological advances, of course, are, what the smartphone, the GPS has brought us. It's texting, it's checking nav maps while you're driving, et cetera, isn't it?
Right, and because we tend to do those more often and we do those longer, if we're adjusting our hair, that's pretty quick. But if we're on a conversation, if it's our boss or our girlfriend, it may be a little while and it may be heated. So it's a different type of distraction.
And again, anything that is not holding the wheel and driving, according to your group,
is a distraction. And we
sure.
we want to use common sense. We're not suggesting outlawing makeup in the car. Use good common sense. Turn off your phone.
But you don't mean applying it as you're moving down the road.
Not as a law.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's obviously not something you should do. But again, there are lots of things you shouldn't do. It's common sense.
My research shows that the Department of Transportation says that at any given time of the day or night, 800,000 vehicles are being driven by a person using a handheld cell phone.
Yes, and handheld cell phone use is very dangerous. Hang up the phone. It's not worth it.
And didn't Nevada just participate in a GHSA survey that included questions about texting and talking?
It did. And
what did you learn?
Well, we learned that Nevada, like other states, has a big problem with this, but they are trying to address it through education, through enforcement, and through public awareness.
How long ago was that?
It's very recent, within the last few weeks.
Oh. And while all ages are talking on the phone and texting and driving, it's individuals under 20, isn't it, that represent the biggest problem?
It's across the board, really. We're seeing it all age groups, but...
That's interesting, because a lot of articles you read these days are kind of getting on the case of teens.
Well, teens are the ones that crash the most and unfortunately have the most fatalities. And the last thing a teenager needs to be doing behind the wheel is using a cell phone. So it is a big problem, but this really goes across the board. If you're a parent, you're setting a tone and allowing your child to do it if you do it yourself. So we all really need to be a little safer.
This is scary. And again, we said in the earlier segment that people agree that it's dangerous, don't agree that they're going to be the problem or it's going to apply to them. But this is amazing. The Department of Transportation, I saw a statistic. It said texting takes a driver's eyes off the road for about 4.6 seconds. If you are going 55 miles an hour, it is the equivalent of driving a football field blind.
And
just think about
it's
that.
Shocking, and you can't respond. It's not just that you're responding to what you do. You can't respond to another driver.
And we have a hard time getting it that such a brief look away from the road is going to mean this length of roadway, the length of a football field.
It's alarming when and that's a good analogy.
So, what is GHSA focusing its national and Nevada efforts on specifically regarding texting and other handheld cell phone use?
Well, we need to get a better grasp of the problem. We still don't really know how big of a problem it is, and there's a lot of research going on to figure out the problem, but then again to also share best practices for what do we do about it, and that's through enforcement, through education and public awareness.
What can you tell parents to tell their kids, to get them to...
Parents have to be tough cops. This is against the law and for a reason, and you have to be the ones to say, you can't do this behind the wheel.
Okay. And they do want to keep you and yours safe on the road. We're going to have more on the association's work in D.C. to protect you behind the wheel in Nevada. That's right after this.
Every day, thousands of people in northern Nevada don't get enough to eat. 1 out of 5 children in northern Nevada go to bed hungry every night. But you can do something about it. Catholic Community Services of Northern Nevada has been providing help and creating hope in our community for more than 65 years. By donating food, time, or money, you can make a difference in a hungry person's life. When you make your generous donation to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, you're helping to fight the scourge of hunger in Northern Nevada. In these tough economic times, now more than ever, we need to help those less fortunate. To find out how you can donate to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, call, click, or stop by, and together we can end hunger in Northern Nevada.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
You already watch Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column, putting a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
This girl is very pretty. It's inciting feelings of jealousy in me. We should pick on her.
I'm insecure about some things, so I think we should put some me stuff on here. Maybe even some lies, too.
Yeah. I just want to be accepted by you both. So I'm going to send this to my friends so they think I'm cool.
Kids bully for all kinds of reasons. None of them are good. Find ways to get involved at flipthescriptnow.org.
How will new energy technology make our lives better? Will geothermal, wind, and solar energy be a bigger part of our future? Yes. And soon it will all be in our backyard. Learn more at nvenergy.com.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of distracted driving and efforts here in Washington and there in Nevada to get a handle on this growing problem. We've been visiting with Jonathan Adkins, the Deputy Director of the Washington-based Governor's Safety Highway Association. So just what is the Governor's Highway Safety Association? This Washington, D.C.-based national advocacy organization has an aggressive goal to move towards zero deaths on the nation's roadways. GHSA traces its origins to the Highway Safety Act of 1966. That legislation created a partnership among federal, state, and local governments to address the problem of unsafe highways. It authorized the first federal highway safety program called the State and Community Highway Safety Grant Program. Since then, the Congress has reauthorized the program, creating incentive grants as well as penalties and sanctions. The Highway Safety Act led to the creation of the GHSA, born when several state highway safety representatives realized the need to collectively work for national safety goals. Its website, ghsa.org, provides distracted driving resources, including state cell phone and texting laws, tips to avoid distractions, information on state safety programs seeking to curb distracted driving, a guidebook aimed at protecting teen drivers, and much more. And Mr. Adkins, that is quite a goal. In fact, on your site, it is listed as the association's, the vision is zero deaths on the roadways. That is quite a vision.
Well, traffic deaths are preventable. They're not just random acts. They happen for a reason, and that's mostly because of driver behavior, and we can prevent them.
And I like the word zero.
Zero, that's where we're going.
So curbing distracted driving would go a long way toward meeting that goal of zero, wouldn't it?
It would be huge.
And what are you seeing as the main problem today? It's more obviously the technology related.
It's the technology, and just culturally, where it's acceptable to do these things behind the wheel.
I know you work closely with state highway safety offices. In Nevada, it's the Department of Public Safety. And what are some of the federal priorities as well as what are some of the specific stuff you're doing working with states like the state
Well,
office?
we're trying to share best practices. What works in one state may be able to be tweaked a little bit and then used in another. So we support a lot of demonstration projects.
Sure. What would be an example of something very state specific for Nevada that might not apply to another state?
Well, Nevada has some of the stronger laws. You have a lot of things on the books already. So how do you enforce those laws? You have handheld and texting are banned in Nevada. In a lot of states, that's not the case.
And what is GHSA? What are some of the things you're advocating as far as making sure those laws are adhered to?
Well, we want to alert the public, number one, that they're going to be visibly enforced. And then you have to back it up and actually write tickets.
Speaking of federal efforts, again, you do a lot, you offer a lot of information regarding information on the highway safety issues. And I counted 39 federal agencies, U.S. cabinet departments, and other D.C. offices, as well as executive and legislative branches that are, all involved with dealing with various aspects of safety on the road.
It's a big national priority. It affects all of us. It's overall we're talking about 35 or 40,000 families a year that lose someone in a traffic crash, so it's significant.
And again, going back to your own history, you began from an act way back in 1966, and how did it all come together as far as deciding that the state representatives needed, one kind of central board here in Washington?
Well, it's important to have national goals and priorities. These are state issues, but we want to have a national focus, and we want to be able to learn from one state to the other.
So give me some examples, if you would, on, in your opinion, what GHSA is specifically doing that is helping Nevada?
Well, we're training and helping train the state on what's new, what's in the federal laws, what federal resources can help Nevada, and training on how to manage programs, how to effectively manage grants, how to work with local law enforcement. We do a lot of training.
I want to go back to, I think a big thing to drive home today, I know I've said it twice already, but the idea that people agree the law is needed, that it's helpful, that it's great that there's fines, the $250 fine, but the statistics we gave in the first segment showing how many citations are still being, are people taking this seriously enough? Again, the idea that it's going to happen to the other guy and not me, and how does your organization sort of cut through that?
It's starting to have more impact. It's a new law. Much like with drunk driving, when we started to crack down on drunk driving, we weren't successful immediately, but we started to make progress, and we're seeing that the same with this issue.
So are you optimistic that as time goes on, and maybe sadly as some sad statistics continue to come out, that people will realize the seriousness of this problem?
I am optimistic. We are where we were with drunk driving about 25 years ago at the beginning.
Huh. Well, that is kind of good news.
It is.
Right. And when we return, GHSA's special focus on our youngest drivers. That's right after this.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
America's minerals have made us a nation of self-reliant dreamers, shaping our world and the endless ways we enjoy it. But red tape often forces us to import more than half the minerals we depend on. Minerals we already have. We don't import our dreams. Shouldn't that go for our minerals too? The National Mining Association. Learn more at nma.org.
There are a million places you'd never consider texting. So why would you do it while driving? Leave risky driving to the professionals. Stop the texts, and together we can stop the wrecks.
You already watch Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column, putting a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
And we are back with our closing segment of today's Eye on Washington. Mr. Adkins, the GHSA site has so much information regarding distracted driver, but I'm imagining that getting teens to listen has got to be one of your most daunting challenges.
Absolutely. Teens don't want to listen to anyone, so we're trying to provide some good resources for educators and parents and others.
Tell us about your newest effort here. I saw on your site that you have a publication out now. It's called Curbing Teen Driver Crashes, an in-depth look at state novice driver initiatives. And as we're speaking to, I know that my producer is going to again put up the ghsa.org website so they can go and find this publication themselves. But again, it's called Curbing Teen Driver Crashes, an in-depth look at state novice driver initiatives. And this looks at what the states individually are doing. Is that right?
It does. And states like your own are doing a lot of innovative projects. And one way to get teens to listen is to have the other teens talk to them. It's called a peer-to-peer approach. And we've had a lot of success with that. And we're also trying to provide resources for parents to help them have the conversations, help them have maybe even a contract with their teen, and make sure that parents know what the laws are and know what resources and tools are out there for them.
You know, teens might listen to other teens more than they would listen to their parents sometimes. Tell us more about this peer-to-peer approach.
It's similar to the approach that Students Against Destructive Decisions, known as SAD, and others have taken, where teens talk to each other about what the risks are. Unfortunately, many times it's been a teen who's been in a crash or have lost someone in a crash. But those are powerful stories, and they can have impact, so we want to share them.
Thanks for being here today on this very important issue. And
I'm
sure that Nevadans watching and listening today, wanting to get involved on your efforts to make the roads safer, again, can go visit your website and hopefully help out.
Thanks for
again.
having me.
That does wrap up today's Eye on Washington. We are always here for you, though, providing all the top federal news that Nevadans need to know. Just visit our website, joycecommunications.com, and you can subscribe to our Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter while you're there. And be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, and check out our poll offerings and more federal issues that impact Nevadans while you're on our site. Thanks for joining us on Eye on Washington today. I'm Marilee Joyce in Washington, D.C. Have a good day.